How you doing? Dave Clark from InspectCheck-net. Um, Today I'm going to talk about kind of a serious subject. It seems like it's come up a few times with some of my fellow home inspectors. Have you ever been sued? Um, and I don't want to sound like a downer here, but if you've been in business for any length of time as a home inspector, probably any business, right? But I can only talk about home inspections. You're probably going to get sued. I hate to say probably. You might. How about that? I'll be optimistic. Have I been sued? Yes. And it's never a pleasant experience. I think the key is again to do your best inspection and uh, effectively communicate. Now, I want to be very clear. I'm going to do a disclaimer right now. I'm not a lawyer. Don't play one on TV. I'm going to just talk to you about my experience and experiences with getting sued in lawsuits. I'm not going to give you legal advice, so I'm going to tell you my experience as in how we handled it, okay? Um, it's not a great feeling. I would say don't panic. Also, I think the first thing, we'll take it back a minute. If your client has a complaint, if there's something that they want you to take a look at, and go back and see, and I think you should definitely do that, okay? Um, if they call you and say, hey, this happened, that happened, I think showing up there and taking a look at it, and of course taking a look at your report and trying to explain to them that you put it in the report. The verbal thing is tough. You never want to be he said, she said, but I think going back to address whatever concerns they have goes a long way. Is that going to stop you from getting sued? No, it won't, but it might help. I don't want to talk too much about contracts. I know there's contracts that you go to the arbitration, they have that in the contract. They also have other contracts where you would only refund the fee. I don't know if I would do that, do either of those right off the bat, okay? I think I would try to solve it if possible. But that could work. I know inspectors that have done that too. But I'm just going to talk to you about my experiences, and I think the key is don't panic. So if you do get sued, what are some of the things that happen? Well, any court is going to ask for probably three things. Two things for sure I've seen, and even three. One is your contract or agreement for home inspection. Going to want to look at that because that is a binding contract, right? As long as it's lawfully written, and you should have a lawyer take a look at that to make sure it is lawfully written. But they want to see that. They're going to want to also see a copy of the home inspection report. Very important. So when's the last time you took a good look at your home inspection report and say, if this is in front of someone who knows nothing of this transaction, who wasn't there at the house with me, who is not a home inspector, who is not my client who I talked to, because there'd be no communication between you and that judge or administrative law judge or whoever. Can they look at this and easily see, what I'm talking about or what they're talking about? Okay, so that's important. So take a good look at your report. Make sure that it is clear. I don't care about what you said verbally because you know what? In my experience, that doesn't really matter. Maybe if you have a witness there and all, you don't want to count on that because people hear things differently, and you do not want to count on that. So I would not count on that. The third thing that they may ask for, or they may just actually get from maybe with their clerk or something, are whatever your laws are in that particular state that you're doing business. National organizations are great in a lot of different ways, but the state supersedes that. That I can tell you for sure. So you can't say, well, I violated the state law, but I followed these national standards. Nobody cares about that, okay? If you follow the national standards, that's great, but they don't care about them either. They care about the state standards because your state should have a standards of practice and code of ethics. Now, with that said, that your state may use a nationally recognized standards of practice or code of ethics. Great. So then that's what your state SOP and code of ethics is. So whatever your state uses, I guess that's a good way to put it, whether it's they have their own or they use a nationally accepted one, make sure your inspection is in accordance with that. The worst story, and I can tell you this, I know it for an absolute fact, is that the inspector found an issue. He put the issue in the report, in writing. It was very clear. People called him up and said, hey, the issue, this happened. He goes, well, I told you about it. They sued him anyway. And the judge found in the favor of the plaintiffs, of the people, of his clients, because he did not put his license number on the home inspection report. I'm not making this up. And it cost him a few thousand to replace that unit, and because the law in that state says, this state says, your license number must be on the report. So it's little things like that. Take a look at your report. Take a look. Some people that have been grandfathered maybe have not looked at their licensing law in a long time. It's been changed. License law in this state has been changed, I think, at least 4 or 5 times, maybe even more. Have you read the updates? They don't tell you it's being updated, by the way, or if they do, you may not have paid attention to the email or whoever you were communicated by. Again, another great reason to be involved in home inspector organizations, because that might, that'll be a topic of conversation. But, ours was changed in 1 year ago, I think, 1.5 years ago. Does everybody know that? I don't know. So do that, okay? The standards of practice, very, very important. I just took a few notes here. What I want you to do is review your report. Is it clear? Does it give clear direction? I know we talk about clear direction. The other thing I want to just talk about briefly is make sure, because sometimes people see a contract and they just sign it and that's it. I think it's very important that your client understands what a visual home inspection is and the limits of that visual home inspection, okay? Very important. So before I even start the inspection, I make them sign the contract, of course. And if they just sign it and nobody read it, I'll open up that contract or scroll down, usually I have an iPad, and I'll say, I just want you to be aware of the fact that we're doing a visual inspection today. And I'll point out to them in the contract where it says it's visual, it's not technically exhaustive, it's not, there's no insurance policy or anything. What they're paying for today is my professional opinion on the areas and systems that I could view and their condition on today's date. I show them in the contract and I make that statement at least twice. I know it sounds like overkill, but I want them to understand that this is a visual. I mean, we're there for maybe 4 hours, right? Maybe 3, maybe 5. It depends on the house, but we're there for a time frame. Hopefully you're not there 45 minutes, because if you are, you're not doing a good inspection. I don't care. You can give me, bad feedback. If you're there for 45 minutes, you're not doing a good inspection. But if you're there for and you go through the process properly, you follow your standards of practice, you do a good quality home inspection. The homeowner knows more about the house than we do when we leave. We're there for, like I said, 4 or 5 hours. They've been there for, 20 years, 10, 15 years. They know where all the demons are. We do our best to look really for the bigger things. We find smaller things too, but that's our job. So they need to be clear on that. The contract needs to be clear. The report should be clear. So as they go down the sections, they should be able to look at that. The report should tell them the inspector is going to do this and he's going to report on this on today's date. And he's not, dismantling things. He's not. So the report, the contract, all have to be, cohesive and all be clear on what you're saying. And again, before you start, I always say the same speech, right? Today, I'm conducting a visual home inspection. It's not technically exhaustive. I don't have people from all different disciplines doing technically exhaustive tests, and we're not running scopes unless you're doing that specifically. And what we're doing today is you're paying for my professional opinion on the systems and the areas that I'm able to view, and my opinion, again, on their condition on today's date. We don't offer warranties, guarantees, or insurance policies. I tell them I don't have a crystal ball. I can't look into the future, but I'll do my best for you today from what I can see. And the contract, the report, everything needs to be together to make that. And they need to understand that. I think that's important. A lot of times we'll send the contract out before so they can get a good look at it. And I think that's a great idea to do that. So I hope this helps you out a little bit. Again, take a look at a good lawyer that maybe can look at your contract and even your report too, and take a look at that report. Take a look at the standards of practice that you're supposed to be following. Make sure you're in accordance with all that and do your best. Never worry about that. Never worry about getting sued, lawsuits. Go out and do your job and be proud of what you do. We have a lot of tips like this at InspectCheck-net, Home Inspectors Bootcamp. It's free. And we also have tech tips that we send out in our monthly newsletter. That's free for sign up also at InspectCheck.net. Have a great day.